Okay, let's go.
He wants to jump
1,000 cars. Sir, you have 1,000 cars.
I don't think I'd attempt to try this stunt.
Or we owe this horsepower to Uncle Sam. Too many
Car. Roses would be...
Like I put my beer belly on it.
If you can't immediately tell somebody how many cars you have.
You'll really give those uppity yuppies something to think about.
Stay on the bar. Don't go off the bar with your Bronco. 1980 Volvo horns. What's right? I want a man's coolant.
And he's like, oh, I thought it'd be small. It's for a small car. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still an automatic transmission. They're never going to be light.
It's definitely going to have to crash.
Starting off with Brad buying another car.
That's the West. Internet.
Is this a Nigerian oil print?
I also wish you drove a tan Camry.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's a
horrible,
very
horrible podcast content.
very
Talking about a picture.
inside joke.
It loves to be driven hard.
All right. Welcome to another episode of Auto Up Topic. How are you, Brad?
Andrew, I'm good. Want to tell the people why we haven't been here for a few weeks?
I don't even remember. Oh.
Well, week 1, something happened.
Yeah, there was Halloween in there.
Yep, Halloween. That was one of them. But that was a Tuesday, wasn't it? I don't remember.
No,
anymore.
Halloween was a Thursday.
Oh, there you go. That screwed us all up then.
Yeah.
But that was
I
the
don't
second
remember.
week.
Yeah, I don't remember what the first week was. It doesn't. I
We probably would have recorded, but we had Naomi's hip surgery on that same night, on Halloween night. So I was not around to record.
I think I had worked on the Volvo, which pays off in
Oh, that's
content.
what it was the week before. Yep. You worked on the Volvo. So you said no content this week because I'm creating content for next week. And then Halloween / Naomi's surgery was the following week. So that was another reason to not have an episode. And now here we are, making up for it with tons of content.
Yeah, tons of free content. And if you were, in the Discord, we heard your complaints of not having free content.
Heard and ignored.
They went right into my filing system.
Yeah, the circular file.
Trash.
It's under D for trash.
Yeah.
Mr. A Knife.
Yep.
All right. So the good news is that you did a ton of Project Car stuff, and we might as well just start right off with some Project Car update stuff.
I think I talked about the Volvo head going to the machine shop.
You described in length the process of metal stitching the cylinder head.
Yeah, so they called me
which
back.
I embarrassingly called it steel.
Yeah. They called me back, told me it looks pretty good. Like they just did a Magnaflux to make sure there wasn't any other cracks before doing any other work. And then gave me the estimate. A little expensive, but I don't know who else is going to do the work. So, plus it included all the parts.
Yeah, I think we decided last time. I think we decided last time too that it's like you can try to save some money by buying another one, but you're just going to wind up with another broken one and then be another few $100 backwards. So you might as well just.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I don't know. Nobody else can do the work. It's not that expensive when you're looking at like the actual breakdown. When it adds up, it's expensive, but like the actual stuff itself is not that expensive. That doesn't make any sense. I don't know. Makes sense to me. I'm not a financialist.
No, if we were financial experts, we would not have many broken hole cars. That is financial suicide right there. So
yeah, and well, I mean, in my opinion, the car is worth more running. So even if I put $2,000 into an engine, it's like from what I paid for it. Even if I have another $2,000 on top of it, the car's probably worth 6 or 7 running. So I don't think
at minimum for sure, you could definitely get money back by putting money in this case.
Yeah,
it's also
I think
much easier to sell when it's running.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, what am I going to do with this broken car unless I fix it? So even if I didn't decide I didn't want it anymore, it'd be a lot easier if it wasn't running. If it was running.
And not that we're saying you're selling the car. It's just this is the thought process behind the whole thing.
Yeah,
I have
this same conversation.
I have the same conversation with myself all the time about the 1980 Toyota Cressida Outback. That's part of the reason it's still here. It's like, maybe I want to get rid of it. Maybe I don't. But also, it needs to run before I can get rid of it. And if I make it run, then I'm not going to get rid of it. So what am I trying to do here?
Well, I'm just like doing the mental gymnastics of like, if I spend that money, it's okay, because if I suddenly need to get rid of the car, it's easy to get rid of because it will be a running car and worth more.
100%. And if I even go back to the Eclipse, when the Eclipse blew up, part of my conversation was, well, if I put the money into the Eclipse, I'm going to be upside down. But if I don't put the money into the Eclipse, I'm even further upside down because now I have a car that's worth nothing that I've spent, over the course of the years, thousands of dollars on. And if I spend another $1,500 to make it run again, it's back up to being worth what it was worth before it broke. So I'm losing that $1,500, but I'm not going to lose the other thousands I would lose if I went to get rid of it.
Yeah,
So it's
how we figured it
not.
out. I don't know.
It's not a smart game. It's a game, but it's not a smart game.
It doesn't matter. So yeah, they're gonna fix the head. It took me a couple weeks. This was last week, so they're waiting on. They had to order the valves or something. I could have supplied them myself, but it's like, you know what? They know what they want. I don't want to order the wrong size because there's several different sizes you can get.
Let them do it.
Yeah,
The amount of money it would save you to get your own would probably be made up for very quickly in aggravation.
Yeah, and it's funny in their little price guide they do have like a little 10% for if you supply your own parts. Which, all right, fair, because people might buy crummy parts that don't fit right. So.
Well, that part is twofold. It's a 10% upcharge because both they might have to deal with your terrible parts, but also they're not going to make any markup on parts they buy.
Exactly.
So they're losing money by having you bring in your own parts. I've worked for many, places over the years that worked on cars, and some had a policy where they wouldn't even touch your car if you brought your own parts, and others had a policy that was like a 30% markup if you brought your own parts because, they make 30 to 50% markup on parts. So that's how they keep the lights on. It's
the old saying we had was, do you bring your own steak to the steakhouse?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But they're going to do new valve springs. The guy's like, no, we put new ones in. Those are wear item. Okay. New guides, new seals, new valves, new hardened valve seats. So it'll be all set up for unleaded gas. It got ultrasonically cleaned, magnafluxed, crack repair, whatever, hot tank clean, the whole thing. So, if you're in the Discord, that's where I posted the price. If you want to know the price, you got to join the Discord.
Yeah, exactly. How much did Andrew spend on fixing his Volvo? I will say one thing. It did not cost as much as the car. So that is net positive already.
So in the meantime, my dad and I pulled the engine out. I think I talked about we had it out. This past week I went over there. We broke it down. We left the crank in the block because it was just like, it feels silly to take it out and just have to move it around. Because
the crank's annoying.
Just leave it in the block. It's a holder for it.
Yep.
It on the mains, it spun real nice and felt good. So we pulled one cap. It looked pretty good. So it'll get new bearings. All the pistons and rods came out nice. The number 4 bearing was like starting to go. And that definitely would have started knocking at some point. So it was starting to show the brass, but the crank looks okay. They can probably polish it. No like big score marks. And the pistons don't look great. A couple of them, I forget which one it was. I think number 2 was like really smoked, like on the thrust face where it would hit the cylinder. It was like scratched in and worn. And one of the rings was like seized in there, the upper ring. Another one, either the ring was broken or it broke when I popped the piston out over the ridge. But
there's no question why this car had no compression.
Yeah. So it's going to be
really
new pistons.
Bad piston, the same one that had the broken valve?
No, different one. That was number 1. Number 1 looked okay when I took it out. Number 2 looked really bad. And I think 4 was also bad. But the rods look good. They moved on the small ends okay. So I'll see what the machine I'm going to bring. Excuse me. When the head is done, I'll bring the block up and I'll see what size they want to go over on it, which is how much. Sorry, burping. How much they want to bore out the cylinders.
Hopefully not too much.
I don't think it'd be too much. I mean, there's an IPD kit to overbore it to a 2.5, so there's tons of meat there.
Okay, because it's only a 2.0 right now, right?
Yeah.
That's a big overboard.
Yeah. That's an expensive kit. That I'm not doing because it's not a huge benefit. You can spend a ton of money on this engine and make 150 horsepower.
But 150 horsepower in that car would be quite lively.
Yeah, I mean it's like 118 stock, so I don't think it's worth it to put too much into this as like race parts. It's kind of silly.
I don't think so. And if a fresh rebuild with mostly stock parts, it's going to have a slight overbore. It's going to be all fresh. You're going to have the custom carburetors. You're going to have a header on it. If it makes another 5 or 10% over that 118, you're already at 125 to 130. What the diminishing returns to go to 150 is definitely not worth it. And also, the more racy you make it, the less reliable it becomes.
Yeah, the less drivable.
So you might as well keep it a drivable vehicle.
It's got the right cam in it. It's a C grind cam for that engine. So it's what it's supposed to have. And I'm assuming that's correct because it had a C stamped on the end of the cam. But the cam looks worn, but they do sell new replacements. So I'll get a new cam for it. And then the timing gears. So let's get gears for the timing. The cam one is fiber, like a plastic original. So that'll get replaced with, they make a steel upgraded one. Because really the fiber is just for sound to make it quieter.
It's not going to have like a full-on gear drive sound, though, hopefully.
It probably will. I mean, it's just 2 gears. It's a crank gear and the cam gear. That's it.
Have you ever heard like a small block Chevy with a timing gear set instead of a timing chain set?
Yeah, they whine. I mean, it'll probably have a little whine to it.
Supercharger, yeah.
I don't know if it'll sound like that, but it'll have a little bit of whine to it because it is.
You don't want it that loud.
They are helical gears, though, so they'll make some noise, or maybe they'll make a little less noise because they're helical. I don't know, but it's better.
Way.
It's better than the fiber one. You don't want that breaking down. So, yeah, I mean, everything came off it super easy. Nothing gave us any trouble. It looks like somebody upgraded the front and rear seals, crank seals, with the newer style seal. So I think part of that upgrade was having to replace the covers on front and rear of the engine. So that's good. I already have those covers. I can just buy new seals for them. But the rest of it looks good. Like, it'll be cool to get it all cleaned up. And I was just kind of doing a little Googling, found some old forum posts. Supposedly like the what's the Duplicolor, I think, right? Makes all the paint in like the parts store.
That's one of the brands. Sure, they make like the engine paints and the.
Yeah, somebody said the red one with ceramic is a pretty good match for the original red. I was like, that's perfect. I just buy that down the street.
I will make sure to bring color chips for the concourse judging to
yes,
make sure we know that it's not correct.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, it's funny because it looks like it'll just be like so much red, like unintentionally, because the car is also red.
It'll look like you're trying to color match the car.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
The engine bay on that car, is it supposed to be body color or is it supposed to be black?
No, it's supposed to be body color.
Okay, so you'll keep that red then.
Yeah, I'm just going to leave it red. Somebody did a good job painting it. You were talking about it not like straight, like it's funny the radiator is painted red, but like I've got it taken out and it's not like there's white spots under where the radiator was. Like it's all red too. It's weird.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last episode, that the engine everything was clearly out of the engine bay and then also painted red later, which just makes it look like they didn't take the car apart. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, it's weird. But I don't know, it's whatever. It looks good from far away and it looks good cleaned up, so we'll that's coming along. I got I'm hopefully I'm kind of hoping, maybe I can get the engine in at least maybe before Christmas, and having it in there would be huge.
Yeah,
It's
that'd be nice.
because really, like, the car is so simple. It's like it just needs the engine in there to make it work, and then I can figure out the rest of the stuff after, like bleeding the brakes. Because
This is
after
part
the
of the
brake gets old.
reason that I've preferred old cars all the time, even over the '90s stuff, because it's so much simpler to keep things on the road. A timing belt and water pump in the Colt takes an hour. Timing belt and water pump in the Eclipse takes an afternoon. So it's just such a much more simple thing to live with these older cars, and especially a car like that, which has that, excuse the lack of respect here, but a tractor engine. So they're made to just be
Not wrong.
Yeah, they're made to just be maintained and worked on with basic hand tools, and they're super simple to keep going. There's no mystery to them, and I mean sometimes you have a little bit of mystery, like when we tried to figure out why it wouldn't run, but figuring out the lack of compression was a pretty big indicator of why it wouldn't run. So the only way to really get down to it is pull the head off, but it wasn't that hard. So here we go. Not much, a lot of time, but not a lot of actual time working on it, just because other things have taken our lifetime. It's not that hard to figure it out. So a couple bucks here, a couple hours there, and you'll have a running car.
Yeah, hopefully it's ready for the spring. Because I actually got real quick on the other cars. All I did was inspections. I hadn't driven really the G20 since I let you borrow it in August, and it just kind of sat. And then the registration was coming up, so I was waiting for it to come in the mail, and it didn't show up. Like, it was weird. I did it a few weeks out, and it like took a couple weeks to get, and it kind of expired. And then so I put it on, and then I forgot about it, because the sticker expired in August, and I don't think I got the registration until September, even though I renewed it in August. Because it expired. It's so annoying. We talked about this before, how you get plates in the state. Like, you don't get them the month you buy the car or register the car. They just give you whatever they have. So, like, that car had a August sticker on it, but the plates are September registration. So, whatever.
Yeah, it's frustrating. When you drove it, did the rock come out of the caliper finally?
Oh, that was a while ago. It came out. It's fine. It's been fine.
Okay, good, because that was in the caliper most of the way home from New Hampshire back to Salem. I had such a hard, I was trying so hard to get it out of there, but
yeah,
didn't make it go.
No, it's fine. Because then I took it to the donut meet that was on Sunday. So put a little exercise into it.
All right, excellent. That looked like a pretty good turnout, actually.
Yeah, it was nice weather. And then I got a sticker on the talon, so that's all set. So everything's all set. Everything's inspected and ready for next spring. So I don't have to worry about doing that. Not going to get any emails from the state telling me to inspect my cars.
That's so weird. They definitely never used to do that, but
no, they never used to do that.
Yeah, it's good that they do. Do you have like an online profile now with the RMV there?
Yes, I can see all the cars.
Yeah, that didn't used to be that way, but that's how they do it here too, and it's very nice. That's actually how I realized that one time that Haggerty had screwed up my insurance, and they had told the MVD here that my car was uninsured, and they pulled my registration, but nobody ever emailed me or mailed me anything. And I happened to be checking on a different car, and it was like, this car is also canceled. What? What is happening? So I'm glad they have that. And now, as a point of habit, I check it every month or so just to make sure nothing's been canceled for no apparent reason because the VIN is too short or whatever. So,
yeah, I don't. Yeah, they have that, and then it's funny. I think, like, I've never had the Volvo inspected. I think that system's separate because I haven't gotten any letter about that yet. And, like, I got a letter about the G20, or an email, I should say. It expired in August. I got it like middle of September. I got an email. So it's interesting that I haven't gotten anything about the Volvo. So it's like it needs to be inspected to like trigger that. And then I'll get an email if I don't have it inspected again. in a
It could be
timely manner.
worse. You could have like the California process where you haven't gotten something done with smog, so then you go in and they charge you back for all the time where it's been registered but not smogged.
Yeah.
Not
That's
that it would matter in
annoying.
that car, being a 67 or 68, whatever year it is.
69.
69.
Nice. Yeah, I don't know. It's funny. No, but it's like if I got the email, you can also just tell them, oh, it's in storage or I'm restoring it. And then they're like, okay. It's like, I mean, if I'm legitimately not driving it, there's no harm, no foul.
Sure. Yeah, it's an inspection. It's not a registration. It's not a tax
Yeah.
thing. It's just
Yeah,
making sure
exactly.
it's safe for the road. Well, it's not on the road, so it's safe to be parked in my garage. Don't worry about it.
Yep.
So, cool.
What do you got for project updates?
Oh, so much stuff, Andrew. So much stuff. Well, let's see. We ended the last episode. I was talking about how the car that was the most reliable lately started overheating. And I had thought that the probe for the electric fans had come out of the radiator, I should say. And it sort of did. It was moved a little more than I thought it should be at. So I pushed it back in, and then nothing happened. Well, in a little bit more digging on what was happening with the car, looking at that probe, the part I saw sticking out isn't even the actual temperature probe. The temperature probe is super long, and it came I pushed it in so far that it came out the other side of the radiator. And it was actually, thankfully, it was over the fan housing, so it wasn't like interfering with the fans. Not that they were spinning, so I guess it wouldn't have mattered. But that wasn't my cause of my issue. So I got out the power probe and then disconnected some things and made sure the fan motor was still good, and putting power directly to it, the fan motor was still good, but there was no power getting to it. So when I let the car idle in the driveway, let it up temperature, so I knew that the probe was reading the correct temperature, and I probed everything with the power probe to find out where power was, and there was no power at all. Power was going to the control box, but wasn't not going from the control box to the fan. So I was like, well, that's odd. Why is it not? Everything is the correct way it should be, except for that.
A bad relay?
No, it was even dumber than that. So remember I had said that when I was putting the battery in, I thought is when I bumped the probe and moved the whole thing out of the radiator?
Yeah.
Well, that definitely happened, but it wasn't enough to affect the things. But I also bumped the wire on the bottom of the control box. There's like 6 wires going into it, so I couldn't actually even see that one was unplugged. And the wire that was unplugged had found its way underneath the battery tray and out of sight, so I had no idea that it wasn't plugged in. And after doing some fishing around, found out that there was a loose wire in there, and there was a connector with because the connectors are on the bottom, so you can't see them. So it was just unplugged. So, I mean, a simple repair is a simple repair, right? We'll take it.
Yeah.
But
did you plug it in?
I plugged it in.
Is it plugged in?
It is plugged in now. And everything seems to be working just fine. So I was able to drive the car, and the fans came on, and everything ran as it should, as the system is intended.
Nice.
Yeah, no, it worked out. It worked out pretty well. So that being said, there was an event coming up that I had talked about a few times, probably, I'm sure, the Arizona Rising Sun Rally, and I had been
Never heard of
planning this. Yeah, I had been planning this event for a while, almost a year, and it was coming up that week. And it was actually, this was Thursday or Friday, maybe even the night before. Yeah, it was Friday, the night before the rally, when we were packing up the Maverick, because Naomi was going to run sweep behind me, and she was going to have the Maverick with all of the tools inside of it for, like, anybody needs them. Jack stands, gas can. Let's see, we had socket set, wrenches, screwdrivers, impact, all the stuff you would need for side of the road repairs. and she was going to run, be the last vehicle and run sweep behind the event and make sure that nobody was stranded anywhere. So we were packing that car up, and I was like, all right, I'm going to get the Cressida out and get it cleaned up. So I'm going to use that, and I'm going to run ahead of the pack and park somewhere and take pictures. And she goes, oh, you fixed the fans? I was like, oh, no. I hadn't done that yet. So it was the night before the event. So thankfully, it was a very simple repair. I was able to make the entire event trouble-free, thankfully. So all 225 miles of the event. But a big part of the reason I had not gotten to it and kind of forgot about it was because, friend of the show, former guest, friend of ours, Bradley Brunell, was going to be in town by chance. Him and his wife, Amanda, were going to be in town that weekend. And we had the bright idea that he should also participate in the event and take my Eclipse. But I wanted to make sure the Eclipse was good for him, so I had spent the week prior getting the Eclipse ready. So I think we chatted last time about tires, and I was torn between the Bridgestones and the Yokohamas. So I went to Discount and was able to chat with them about the Yokohamas, and I went with the same tires that you have on the G20. So they're the Yokohama Advan V701S Fleva, Fleva, because I figured that was a good... I really genuinely like running Yokohamas. I had no experience with the Bridgestones, and they're the same exact money, so I went with the Yokohamas. So no harm, no foul. $114 a piece. Not too bad. Also, I think, were you with me when we found 2 Eclipse wheels at a junkyard? I think you were. We were getting parts for the Galant, all the non-motorized belts. I'd never put those on the car, and I had 2 wheels on the car with the old tires that were always leaking. So I was able to finally slap those wheels on the car with the new tires. So there is now no longer having to put air in the tires every time I want to drive the car. So that's nice.
Oh, wow. It's the little things.
Yeah, little things, right? And then I've had a rattle in the front of the car for as long as I've owned it. And I have been chasing this rattle down since day one. I initially thought it was sway bar end links. It wasn't. And then I was like, well, maybe it's the bushings and the control arms. It wasn't. I was like, oh, maybe it's the top hats and the struts. It wasn't. All that stuff has been checked or replaced by this point. So I called up Jordan here, and I was like, hey, can you get this thing in and just put it on the lift and kind of just go through it, see if I'm missing something. And I just put tires on it, also do an alignment for me, because he's currently working at a shop that does alignments. And he's like, yeah, no problem, bring it by. So we brought it by. And when you jack up a car like the Eclipse and you put jack stands on it, where do you put the jack stands?
I put them on the where the lower control arm bushing is, the big one at the back.
Where the bushing meets the subframe?
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
It's already rounded, so the jack fits right over it.
It fits perfectly in there. But when you do that, that takes all the weight of the car and it puts it on the subframe, which is a safe place to put the weight of the car, correct?
Yeah.
So the other issue with that is that every time you do that and you go onto the car looking for a rattle, the one part of the car that is super tight to the car is going to be the subframe. So in a scary turn of events, the rattle that I've had since I bought the car some 30,000 miles ago, 40,000 miles ago, drove it all over the country ago, was that my subframe bolts are all hand tight.
Weird.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good at all. So they didn't look loose, but when you went up there, they were super loose. And then obviously every time I had the car jacked up and was trying to find things that were rattling, there's 3,000 pounds of car sitting on that subframe, so it's not going to be loose at all. But whenever you hit a bump and it unloads, it rattles around like crazy. So in tightening up the subframe, the rattle in the front of the car is, there's still a little bit of a rattle in the front of the car because it's a 1993 Eclipse, but that absolutely the car sounds like it's falling apart rattle is now gone. So
I wonder why somebody loosened them up.
I was talking to the previous owner of the car, and he has no idea because it must predate him. So who knows how long they've been loose. My guess is maybe somebody put a clutch in the car and pulled the trans out and did it by pulling a subframe out because they weren't, an
Yeah, I don't
experienced
know.
Eclipse mechanic.
You
I
can
don't
do it
know.
without doing that, but
I know you can, but that's something somebody would do, I would
you
assume.
can do the steering rack without pulling it.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'd take it out, other than
Unless you pulled the whole motor from the bottom of the car. I don't know why either. Now, the other issue is that the last problem I had with the car was that issue with the air conditioning idler pulley that cut through the timing cover and the timing belt.
Yeah.
That was probably the same mechanic that didn't tighten the subframe bolts up.
Right. And put it in backwards.
Yeah, somewhere in the car's life,
The guy's trying to kill you.
Yeah, somewhere in the car's life, there was a hack mechanic that really went to town on a few things, and over the years, I've been slowly undoing them, or they've been breaking, and I've had to undo them. But it's a little bit scary to think about the fact that I drove that car from Alabama to Massachusetts, Massachusetts to Arizona, Arizona to Austin, Texas, and back. It's been to Northern California, like San Francisco and back. It's been to LA, like, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. So it's been all over the country with just a hand tightened subframe. So,
But did you die?
Nope, somehow managed to make it all right.
Yeah, so you're fine.
Yeah, the good thing about that is the subframe, again, is supported. It supports the weight of the car on top of it. So I guess unless I had gone jumping at places, I probably would be fine. But nonetheless, it feels a lot better now. It's got it also, the ball joints were a little worn, so I just had him do 2. One ball joint was a little worn, so I had him replace both lower control arms anyway, just to make it all fresh. So now everything in the car is fresh. Top of the motor, timing belt, water pump, all 4 struts, springs, strut tops. I mean, ball joints, control arm bushings, sway bar end links, sway bar bushings, all done now in the past 3,000 or 4,000 miles. So, car is about as fresh as it can be right now. So it's very good, and it was perfectly dialed for Bradley to run the rally in as well. So he also, much like the Cressida, had a perfect event with no issues at all. So that's good. Oh, and when it was there, Jordan slapped a new radio in it because the $30 eBay radio that was in it popped a fuse. I thought it did more than that, but apparently it was just a fuse, internal fuse in the radio. But nonetheless, that's gone, and it has a Pioneer in it right now. So has a decent Bluetooth audio for those long transit stages here during the Arizona Rising Sun Rally, because there were a couple of those, unfortunately. So yeah, that's project car number 2. Project car number 3, the Dodge Ram 50, has been completely cleaned inside and out. I just started to have some free time this week after everything's been going on. The rally is behind us. The main recovery from the surgery is behind us. And the weather is broken here. It's now like nice outside. So I finally got some time to dig into that this week. I've only just started. I cannot find my compression tester that I last used on your Volvo. So that's a bummer, but they're also only like $30. So I'm just going to go buy another one and dig into that some more this weekend. But the biggest issues I've found so far, the carburetor is frozen shut. So the throttle linkage that opens the butterflies in the bottom does not move at all. You can't even turn the throttle linkage by hand. So my guess is that it's full of like old varnishy fuel. So I've pulled that off. I don't have it fully disconnected yet because I ran out of time. And there's a ton of like vacuum lines and plugs because it's that 1986 carburetor technology where it has all kinds of stuff to try to make it pass emissions at the time. So I don't know how deeply I want to dig into it, but I want to at least have a use case that I can make it run with it, even if it runs poorly, before I swap a Weber on.
So why not just swap the Weber on it?
Well, because I want to make sure the motor's good before I spend the money.
I thought you had one.
I have a carburetor, but I still have to buy like the base set for it because it's not correct the one I have. So,
Oh,
but it's not that it's expensive. It's like $60. It's just I don't want to spend the money and buy it and then not need it. So I want to make sure it runs first.
all right.
Or
Just soak
at
it in
least
Marvel Mystery Oil.
so I've been soaking it as best I can with it on the car still, and I'll pull it off. This weekend is the plan. But I did check to make sure it does make spark. It does make spark, so that's good. The engine is free; it cranks over, so that's good. I did put Marvel Mystery Oil down the spark plug holes a while ago. I don't know if it needed it or not because I hadn't cranked it over beforehand, but I got it in there. I cranked the motor a couple times by hand on the crank bolt. So it spun freely, put a battery in it, it cranked over, made spark. None of the headlights work, but that might just be the old bulbs are out because all the other lighting works. The turn signals work, the brake lights work, the reverse lights work, the running lights work. So that's all positive. I've repaired a bunch of wiring under the hood because there's a bunch of stuff that had been chewed by rodents while it was sitting in the woods for all those years. So I used those. I think you've used these, right? The connectors that have the built-in solder.
Yeah, we talked about it.
Yeah, man, they make life so easy. So a combination of those and some heat shrink, and you could almost not tell I've even been there, so that's good. But yeah, couple of the ignition leads off of the coil were cut, so I fixed those. It looks like the majority of the wiring damage is contained to the port installed air conditioning system. So that will take a little bit of fiddling to make work again at some point, but that's not necessary to make the truck run. So I can worry about that all later. So everything I think to make the truck run wiring wise is good. Possibly with the possibility of the headlights needing some attention. So we'll see what happens there. But I'm not scared about that. That's a very simple wiring. And I know the switch works because all the other lights work. And everything in the truck seems to work. The blower motor works. The radio doesn't make much noise because there's no speakers, but it powers on. And all the lights work, like I said. I don't think there's much else electrical in the vehicle, so that's a positive sign too. So yeah, everything seems to be going together pretty well with that truck. I was gonna do a compression test before I dug too deep into it just to make sure, but again, I couldn't find my tester, so I'll have to buy another one of those. But it sounds good. It doesn't spin over super fast. It sounds like it has good compression. The spark plugs internally didn't look as terrible as you'd think they would for a car that sat for so long. So I honestly think it's going to be okay. We'll just have to wait probably one more week, hopefully, and see. So hopefully this weekend I'll have it make some kind of engine noises. We shall see. So let's see. That's project car number 3. Project car 4 is a big one. Now that the garage is done, which I have to talk about that too. But now that the garage is 99.9% done, part of the reason for building the garage was to bring the 68 Camaro out here.
Yes.
That's kind of the catalyst for all of this.
Mm-hmm.
That car is too fragile just to leave out in the sun all day, right? You want to make sure it doesn't get ruined by the sun. So it should be picked up Tuesday or Wednesday of next week and delivered here the following week after that. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, using the same transport driver who did your Volvo.
Yep. You just went through him direct.
I called him direct, got a price that was decent, and he's going to take care of it. He's going to put it on the top rack of the truck so it's out of the way and bring it out to me next week. So I'm pretty stoked on that.
You want to tell me what he charged? Or
I think it was $1,400.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not much cheaper.
Not free, but considering what it costs right now to transport anything across the country, it's fine. And I know he's getting the money. It's not going to a broker. So
yeah, it's going directly to him, not a broker. So
yep. Nope, I'm cool with it. It's fine. The way he was talking about it at first, I was expecting actually a higher number because when he found out what the car was, he started to get nervous about it. So we'll see. And then he was nervous about it being a convertible because he's like, it's convertible. That means I have to make sure the truck has an open spot on top. He goes, I don't put convertibles in the bottom deck. He goes, I don't want there to be a chance anything coming off the cars on top and ruining the convertible top. And I said, fair enough, but you haven't seen his convertible top. Don't worry about it. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Hopefully it all goes well, but that should be here, in the next week or so. And that is pretty exciting to me because, it'd be good to get that car here. So I had my father start it the other day and grab the factory stock wheels for it that were in the shed and have him put those in the car so that I can swap those out when it gets here because the tires that are on it are 25 years old. So I want to make sure.
Yeah.
I'm not going to drive it here on the old tires and wheels. I'm going to put the factory wheels back on it and get some brand new tires for it. So, or at least some better used tires at this point. So something made in this century.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, they were weren't they 10 years old in 99?
I put them on the car in 98 or 99 and I got them used then. So I don't know how old they are. I forget. The build date is sometime in the 90s. So
all right.
That'll be fixed. Don't worry. And I'm going to put on the proper original wheels. And then that car is going to get a bunch of love too once some other products are finished because it needs it. In the entire time I've owned it, which is my entire life, I've not done much as far as the front suspension goes, and the steering is pretty sloppy. So I'm going to rebuild everything in that car on the front end. So that will be
the garage space to do it. So
I would 100% do if I can ever get tools back there. So
why can't you get tools back there?
That's a whole story for a whole other time. We're not going to talk about that one on the air. We'll talk about that one later.
Okay.
I can. It's just there's a lot. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, let's see. What else? Project Cars. Garage. Going back to last episode, I was waiting on my final inspection. And I said, everything will be fine. Every inspection's been fine. No stress. He's going to come out, green tag it, and call it a day. That is unfortunately not what happened. I got the dreaded red tag, and I failed final inspection. Thankfully, not for anything big, and it was rectified within a few days. But if we had recorded that first week, there would have been a week of mystery where you did not know if I was ever going to use my garage. But it failed for the breakers in the breaker box.
Okay.
So apparently there's a new standard here in Arizona where you need to use ground fault interrupting breakers in the breaker
I think
box.
that's everywhere.
Is it?
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any sense in a building with no water.
Yes, it does. You could bring water in there. You could wash cars in there. You could run an extension cord outside and it goes into a puddle.
But there's ground fault sockets on the outside of the building, as there should be.
Yes, but they also need to have them inside as well.
In the electrical box.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, apparently it's a fairly new standard because the electrician did not know about it. And he was pretty irritated by it because he's like, that doesn't even make any sense to me. He's like, because these things here, they trip so much easier. And if you're using garage equipment, he's like, using garage equipment, you're not going to want to plug in high drain devices into these things because they're going to be tripping on you all the time. They're going to annoy the crap out of you. He's like, that's why I use the, arc fault, I think is the name of the other ones. The arc fault breakers.
Yeah, they do trip really easily. They do and they don't. I had them. They had to put them in when I did the kitchen over. And every once in a while, if you're using a power tool up there, finishing the kitchen once I had power. I think it only happened to me once where it actually would trip it.
But the use case of using power tools in the kitchen is small. The use case of using power tools in the garage is all the time. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But anyway, the electrician came back. He swapped out all the arc fault breakers for the GFI breakers, and had to wait a couple more days for the inspector to come back out. But he came back out, and it is all green tag now. So all is good. We're totally clear with the city. So there's no more inspections, no more issues, no more worrying about anything. The only thing I have left to do to the garage other than use it is I do want to I bought some molding to go around the baseboard. It was like a baseboard kind of molding, kind of like an industrial style, like rubber. It's like 4 inches tall and it curls in the floor a little bit. There's probably a name for it that I don't know. It comes in a big roll and you roll it out, double-sided tape in the back.
Yeah, it's what do you want? It's I don't know, floor molding.
Yeah.
What do I want to call it?
Trim.
I don't know.
Sill trim. In a house,
I
you call it a
forget.
baseboard, but it's not a baseboard because it's
baseboard. It's baseboard trim.
Okay, well, it's
Yeah.
baseboard trim. Yeah, it's a rubber
just-
industrial style baseboard.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yeah, that's all done now. They came back out and we had a concrete company come out and do like a curbing that we have around the grass portion of our yard. We had to destroy some of it to put the garage in. So we had them redo the curbing, but further over from in front of the garage doors. So that defines our lawn space. And then we temporarily fenced off all the lawn space and overseeded, and then put down all the manure kind of topping, and have been watering it, and grass as of yesterday started to sprout through. So it's all turning around. The backyard will eventually be nice again and not trashed. And it will not be a minute too soon. But that is the end of the project stuff updates. That was a lot. It's been a few weeks. So hopefully there'll be more next week. But I think the big thing to talk about here, though, is the Arizona Rising Sun Rally.
Yeah, I want to hear about that.
I don't even know how to talk about it. It was amazing. It was. Right. I'm still riding a high of how well it went. There were no real complaints. The only complaints people had were a couple of comments about how Arizona needs to put the fun roads closer together, because that's just how it works. There were a couple of transit sections that they weren't even that long. It was probably 30 miles of a straight road to go between two windy roads before you had like 74 miles of twisty, beautiful, freshly paved road through mountainous terrain.
So where'd you start and where'd you go?
I can't even explain to you, Andrew, how happy I am that an event that I planned and I built was as successful as it was. It doesn't feel real. We started the event in Wickenburg. Well, not quite Wickenburg. We started the event. I don't know what town it is. I apologize. It's kind of like an unincorporated area near Lake Pleasant in Arizona, which is just north of Phoenix. Lake Pleasant is one of our big recreational lakes in the area here.
Is that the one we went to for that boat ride?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep, it is.
Where they do the Rockabilly show?
Yep, that's the one. So we went out that way, and there's a big gas station, a brand new Shell station out there. There's a huge parking lot. And I was like, all right, this is going to be our start point. And we had a conversation with me and the other organizers where we were like, do we tell them we're coming? Or it's a gas station with a huge parking lot. Do we just show up? So we went with we're just going to show up method. And morning of the event, I went inside after the first couple of cars started showing up. Everybody's parking kind of off to the right rear of the building because it seemed like the most out of the way area. And as everybody's pulling in, I also noticed that there were like groups of Jeep guys pulling in and groups of side-by-side guys pulling in, and like groups of boaters and jet skiers all pulling in. I was like, oh, okay,
everybody meets
a common meeting place because it makes sense. It's the only thing out there besides the lake, so that makes sense. So I go out there. I go into the little store and I find like the manager-looking guy. And I was like, hey, just so you know, there's gonna be a bunch of vehicles stopping here as a stopping point on our, kind of our driving rally across the state. Is that going to be cool if we're here for a little bit and just kind of, reconvene and hang out? Like not telling him we're starting the whole event there, but just being like, hey, we're going to be there. And he goes, oh, you with the UTV guys? And I was like, no, we're a bunch of old Japanese cars. And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, just don't take any of the parking spots out front, and I don't care what you do. I was like, all right, cool. He goes, actually, go to the right rear of the building. It's a big open area. And I was like, perfect. That's where we are. So the forgiveness over permission strategy worked perfectly. So that was excellent. The only downside to this was gas here in Arizona right now. What's gas in Massachusetts?
$2.95 for regular.
Okay, so it's very similar. Gas rate here right now is $2.99. Gas
Yeah.
at this gas station, $4.75.
Whoa, he's out in the middle of nowhere.
It's out in the middle of nowhere, but mostly because it's the stop that's closest to the lake. So all the guys with their boats go there, and they really rake them over the coals with their 100-gallon tanks, right? Yeah,
Yep.
I filled the Eclipse with premium, and it was, I didn't fill the Eclipse premium. I was going to fill the Eclipse with premium when I was doing the test runs and stuff, and I think it was over $6 a gallon. So,
whoa,
absolutely not, absolutely gross. But other than that, it was a perfect starting position. So everybody met there in the morning. We wound up with 23 participant cars. We had originally said we were going to hold it to 20, but we had put a few alternates in because we figured people would back out last minute. Turns out not enough people backed out last minute. So we had 23 cars, which is cool. I'm glad nobody backed out. That makes it, that much more successful. Big shout out to Naomi. She was coming, and Naomi did the sweep, like I said, but she also helped in the morning with getting everybody to sign their waivers, because we had, do an event waiver to make sure that, we're not liable for any stupidity. She helped do the waivers. She helped hand out all the goodie bags because we had.
This is very professional.
It was very professional. This was Andrew. We made an LLC for this. Okay, that's how serious we took this. We weren't going to take it this serious, but then we realized if we're charging people to do it, most places won't allow you to charge customers without having some place to bill the customers, and you can't create a bank account without having an LLC. So, and also that is huge for insurance reasons as well. So it was a very professional event. It went above and beyond what I was originally envisioning. So she had them fill the waivers out. Everybody had a goodie bag from our sponsors. We had a ton of sponsors. I can't even. Again, I don't understand how it went from what it was supposed to be, to what it became. It was absolutely amazing. The sponsor list was huge. I'm trying to think of who our sponsors were, top of my head, because there were just so many of them. It was just I should remember.
Podcast.
Yeah. Yes, we were a sponsor for sure. But I mean, we had Discount Tire was a sponsor, and we had We Don't Lift Racing here in town as a sponsor, and we had Finishing Touch Body Shop here in town as a sponsor. But we also had companies like Mazda, like actual Mazda corporate, gave us some goodies to give out, and Discount Tire, I think I said, gave us some goodies to give out. It was just, there was so much support for this kind of event in this area. It was Techno Toy Tuning gave us some stuff to give out to people. It was super cool to have all that kind of stuff. So we had little goodie bags made out. Everybody had one assigned to them, and a T-shirt and dinner tickets for later. Initially sent the cars out in 2-minute intervals because my brain was on, TSD brain. As the morning wore on a little bit, it was like, we probably shouldn't be doing that. We should probably be sending them out in groups, or sending them out closer together, because 23 cars at 2-minute intervals, all of a sudden, it takes 40 minutes to get the cars out of there, 45 minutes to an hour to get the cars out of there. So that didn't work out quite as planned, but that's okay. For first part of the drive was up 89A, which is
Yep.
you've done that before, up the hill to Prescott. Super fun sections of roads. So they went up 89A, and then our midday stop was about 2 hours of driving total from beginning to there. The midday stop was we had a spot at like a community center at like a gated community kind of area that somebody who's one of the planners, Tim, his brother-in-law, lived in that community. He was like, hey, I could probably use this. It's got a big parking lot. So we used that. We had like finger sandwiches for everybody and bags of chips and drinks and kind of like re-meet there, reconvene, and then go back out on the road. So we did that. The next part of the road went through Skull Valley, Arizona, and then it took a right
Ooh,
towards
spooky.
towards Baghdad, Arizona. And then before you get to actual Baghdad, there's a left-hand turn. I think it's Route 68 or 69. And it's all like beautiful fresh pavement, undulating up and down, left and right. Like I can't even explain to you how nice this section of road is. I do not know why it exists. It doesn't need to be there. It doesn't seem to connect anything that's not connected in other ways, but it's gorgeous, fresh pavement and super fun to drive. And it's like 75 miles or so of uninterrupted twisties. And everybody loved it. It went very well. People who lived there their whole lives have no idea this road even existed. So it was very cool. Everybody was stoked on it. It was another probably 2.5 to 3 hours of driving time for this whole second section. And we ended the day in Wickenburg at the Wickenburg Country Club. And we had a dinner there where everybody who pre-signed up, got a dinner ticket for themselves for signing up for the event. And if they bought an extra one for their navigator, they had a dinner ticket for them. That bought them, one of 4 things that we had chosen from the menu for them to select from. So it was like a half rack of ribs or a burger or a quesadilla or some tacos, whatever the 4th thing was. I don't even remember at this point, but it was perfect. And the sun was setting. All the cars are parked out in the parking lot. Some amazing, cool pictures of the sun setting in the background over the golf course. And everybody just hung out for hours, had a really good time. And then people still seem to want to do stuff, which is cool. That kind of like really solidified that it was a positive, good experience for people. And a bunch of us went to the 67th and Bell Saturday night car show afterwards on the way home. So like it was a full day. I mean, we left the house at like 7 a.m. I didn't roll back in the driveway until 11:15. So it was a full day of car stuff. It went really well. Huge shout out to Ian Martin Photography. He rode along with me and took some cool shots and helped us all day for absolutely no cost whatsoever, other than I gave him a t-shirt and got him one of the dinners at the end. Super cool to have him along helping us out. And I can't thank everybody who showed up and did the event with us enough. And Mike, Tim, and Eric for helping me plan it, and Naomi for supporting me through it and driving the sweep car and helping with the morning registration. It was pretty good. It was a good time. So it just makes me stoked to be involved with more of these, road rally events that are not exclusive, but exclusive. I want to touch on that real quick too. Like we had this whole complaining session in the last 2 episodes about car shows and exclusivity. I realized this event was also a apply event. You had to apply to attend, but it was more for car count and control. I didn't deny anybody whose car fit the parameters, and the parameters were just pre-05 Japanese. So there was no denying for car condition. We had everything from an 81 Corona that was literally dragged out of a junkyard 2 months ago and put together to a legitimate R34 Skyline GTR Spec V and everything in between. So, I mean, that's a $1,000 car and a $200,000 car and everything in between those cars in the rally. And it was the mix of cars was epic and amazing, and it worked out so well. So we had Turbo Supra, 3 FD RX-7s, S2000, couple Miatas, 1974 Mazda RX-3, 3 first-gen Celicas, first-gen MR2, my Cressida. Jordan tagged along with his Cedric SEMA, 1991 Cedric SEMA. And what else was there? But just so many cars I'm forgetting. A 240SX, a right-hand drive 180. God, there were so many. It's such a cool turnout and such a good event. I think that one of the funnier things that happened, that midday lunch stop, we're sitting at this parking lot of this, it's a gated community, and this guy comes through and he sees all these old Japanese cars, and he went home and he got his Miata and he drove it in the parking lot, and it was a first gen 91 Miata with 55,000 miles on it, and he put a for sale sign in the window. One of our participants' navigators was only a navigator for the first half of the day because he bought that Miata on the spot.
Okay. How does that work?
Do you want to know what this man charged for his 55,000 mile 1991 Miata?
Oh boy. $5,000? Yeah,
$5,000.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's a good deal.
If I had $5,000, I'd have found a way to get it home. If I hadn't just spent all that money on a garage, I'd have been buying that car for sure. But yeah, super good deal for, I think it was a 91, it was a red 91. But yeah, $5,000 for a 55,000.
What a hustle!
Yeah, I drove it down and sold it on the spot. So good on all of them. So, but yeah, no, it was dude. I am almost at a loss for words of how good the event was. Super excited for how it went down. There's been I've posted some pictures at AZ Rising Sun Rally with an E on Instagram. You can see some of the coverage there. I have tons more to post. We're having a wrap meeting next week, and we have extra T-shirts and some stuff, and we're going to I know that people that didn't do the event, maybe they won't want one, but we're going to try to sell some of the extra T-shirts for basically our cost just to get them out the door. They are a very cool design, even if he didn't do the event. Big thanks to Mike, one of our organizers, who put the design together. It's a first gen RX-7 kind of carving down 89A on the back of the T-shirt. It's a really cool logo. I'll be posting some up there soon, and I have some for sale as well. So,
I mean, I'd like one.
I put one aside for you. You get special dispensation because you're co-host of the sponsoring podcast. So there's a T-shirt put aside for you and a couple stickers. So no stress.
Nice.
Yeah. You don't get a door magnet though, because those were expensive. So, and that was the other thing too, is, we complain all the time about these elitist automotive events, and from day one, my intention with this was to make it not elitist. Even though you had to sign up for it, even though you had to, quote unquote, apply for it, we kept it super affordable. Everything you got, was included in your $80 registration. And that included lunch. That included all the time we spent building the route books. It included a very professional spiral-bound route book. It included a T-shirt. It included the swag bags full of stuff, stickers, door magnet, and dinner for $80. So we certainly did not make any money on this event. It was not our intention. It was just to get the community of classic Japanese cars here in the Phoenix area together in order to celebrate the community and do something that wasn't just a static car show. So I think that mission was a success. We did a few superlative type awards. We didn't do any awards for best this or best that. We had 3 awards at the end of the day, and I know 2 of them were furthest distance traveled to the start of the day, highest mileage car, and oldest car. Those were the 3 awards. So the same car got highest mileage car and furthest distance traveled. So huge shout to the dudes who drove 3.5 hours up from Tucson to the start point in a 1984 Toyota Corolla station wagon. So they got furthest distance traveled and highest mileage because it was like a 290,000 mile car. So, and then the oldest car award went to the 73 or 74 Mazda RX-3. So, which was a cool story in itself because the guy had just bought the car 2 months prior in Canada and drove it home from Canada to Phoenix. So, my kind of guy, for sure. So, we had a couple of awards for those guys. But other than that, it was not an award kind of event. There wasn't like anything for any other. Certainly not a race, wasn't a car show. It was just a celebration of enjoying old car life with old cars and old car friends. So we're going to have to do it again next year because it was such a success this year, but it remains to be seen exactly what the plan is. We're thinking a 2-day event next year. So next year they'll have to come out, Andrew.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that's it. That's the wrap on that event.
Cool.
I don't have anything to talk about. I'm talking for like an hour, so let's move on.
Yeah. We gotta catch up on some NASCAR. So we'll finish out this episode on some NASCAR. Because we have one race left, Phoenix, this weekend.
Big time.
So the last 2 races were races to make basically the final 4. Joey Logano had made it in pretty early on.
Yeah, he won the first round.
Then there was
He won the first round after being eliminated and then brought back in. So
yeah, I think we talked about that. So they went to Homestead, Miami. That was
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Yep.
That's a 1.5-mile track, very fast. These cars run really good on half milers. 1.5 miles.
A 1.5-mile track. They're at 180 miles an hour. It's fast.
Yeah. And as an aside, they put the 2024 Cup cars in Forza, the new one, and they're pretty cool. They just released them this week. So
I have to turn Forza on and power it up because it's been so long. It'll probably be a 6-day update. So I should probably do that. I need to put a TV in the new garage so I can have my gaming chair out there with my steering wheel so I can play some more with everybody.
But anyway, they're at Homestead, Miami. That was a good race. A lot of passing, a lot of people moving around. I kind of don't remember the middle of the race now because the finish was what really defined it, right? So
the finish of the race was amazing. The whole race was entertaining. There was not a part of the race where I was annoyed for watching it.
So Reddick had a really hard race at, where were they after the road course?
Yep. I always forget the names. That doesn't matter. The race before Homestead, Miami, he had a tough event.
He was doing really well and then rolled the car after he won the first stage. In the second stage, he rolled it. He was going for a gap. The gap closed up, and then he rolled it. But this guy goes for moves, so that it was pretty crazy. They interviewed him after it. He did a complete roll, landed on the wheels. It landed in the outfield, I should say, by the start finish line, and he drove it directly over to pit lane.
Yeah, I drove right to his pit box.
But the thing had broken the upper control arm or whatever it is on the car.
Yeah, he was full Dale Earnhardt style, roll the car's on its wheels, get me back in it, boys, and didn't quite work out. He thought it was going to work out, but didn't quite work out.
So they're interviewing him afterwards. They're like, we got to do really good at Homestead. It's one of my favorite tracks. We got to win there. Basically called it. Okay. They get to Homestead. I feel like Bell had one of the fastest cars at Homestead.
Oh, no question. Hamlin, Bell, and Reddick, really.
And the Toyotas were fast.
Blaney as well.
And Blaney was fast, yeah. And there was a lot of passing and moving around, But really, what it comes down to, that last like 4 or 5 laps was insane, where you had a battle between Blaney, Hamlin, and Reddick.
Yep.
And basically the last lap pass is going to be legendary in NASCAR now.
Oh, no question. It's going to be a defining moment. People are going to remember the Reddick pass on Blaney forever because A, it ruined Blaney's day, and B, it made Reddick a hero. I mean, it looked like Blaney hit the brakes. That's how fast Reddick went by him.
I don't know. Yeah, it was like he was in third place, and you had Hamlin that was probably a car length behind Blaney, and then Reddick was running pretty fast up against the wall. They call it riding the boards there, right? So,
yep.
The guy just had no fear and just, like I said off air here, but to quote the old Cars movie, drove it in hard and hoped it sticks.
Yeah, 100%.
And it did. He just knew that his car
in it to win it moment. It was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to enter faster than I should.
Records or checkers.
I think I have the grip. If I don't have the grip, I'm going to wreck and I'm not going to make the playoffs. If I do have the grip, I'm going to win and I'm going to make the playoffs. But the only way to make the last round of the playoffs is to win a race because he didn't have enough points. So it was like, nothing to lose at that point. Second place doesn't get you anything.
It was like, Austin Dillon tried it at Richmond and it didn't work, where he just drove in too hot and the car pushed up the racetrack and then he just decided to drive into people afterwards.
Yeah. And he got disqualified, which is why Logano was there in the first place.
So this one, he just drove it in so hard and it stuck. And I don't even it was like unbelievable to watch him. I haven't seen somebody make a clean, fast pass like that in forever.
On the outside.
Yeah. It reminded me of the Newgarden pass at the end of the Indy 500.
Sure, but that had precedent because those cars were so much faster at those two different points in the curve on each line that each person did that each lap in and out. So it was Newgarden and what's his name? We're going back and forth every lap in that same spot.
Yep.
This here was just this is going to work or it's not going to work, and it worked. So here we are. And it wasn't quite as extreme as 2 years ago with Chastain's wall ride, but it was, the speed differential was pretty close.
Well, he didn't touch the wall. That's the thing. It was completely clean.
That's what I'm saying. It wasn't the same as the wall ride, but the speed differential at which he passed Blaney was pretty close to the speed differential of what happened with Chastain a couple years ago. It looked comical how much faster he was going than Blaney in that corner.
Yeah, so go on YouTube and watch it if you haven't seen it. It's pretty good. And then it was just funny to watch. They're trying to interview Blaney afterwards, and he's just like, I don't know.
He's like, I don't know what happened. Yeah.
You can get mad at him.
Yeah.
Like, you can be mad that you lost, but you can't get mad because it was clean. Like, I cannot express how clean it was.
Yeah, nothing dirty was done. He wasn't even within a car width of Blaney. He didn't do anything to Blaney's car. He didn't run over the wall. He didn't take the air out from under him. He just outdrove him in the corner.
And to Blaney's credit, he didn't throw some shitty block at him either.
Right. I don't think he could have. I don't think he even saw him coming.
No. No, he was coming so fast.
Yeah. And again, he came from third. He probably wasn't even watching him. He was probably watching Hamlin as
the 11.
And then all of a sudden, there's the 45 just rocketing past everybody. So, and he passed Hamlin clean too, which he has to with his boss. But
yeah, who was pretty mad. But I guess maybe you're not mad on Monday because your team driver won. So
no, he was not. He wasn't mad much after that. He was upset because he thought a car to win the race, and he didn't get it. But that's just how it works. This 38 cars and only one winner, right? Every week.
But it was cool because Jordan was there, and Michael Jordan.
Yep.
And so he was like, they showed him, and he was super pumped, and it's just funny how big Jordan is and how little Tyler Reddick is.
Yeah, for sure. It was like the horse and the jockey next to each other.
Yeah.
Or I should say, Reddick's like a jockey.
Yeah. The so now fast forward to Martinsville, which I don't think I talked about. I watched that Miata race. They did
Did you
Miata
watch
Cup
it?
cars
Was it good?
at Martinsville. Yeah, it was good.
I didn't see that.
Tons of passing, tons of little bump and runs. Yeah, it was cool.
I mean, they have to do bump and runs because they're all pretty much equal horsepower, and they're all just flat out probably the whole time.
So if that's another YouTube watch, I recommend. Maybe they've got a highlighted version of it. You don't have to watch the full thing, but
I think they
it was
do.
only like 100 laps. It's pretty cool. You can put it on the background or something, or you're doing something else. But that was a cool race. So yeah, and then now NASCAR is at Martinsville short track. I think these cars race pretty well at a short track too.
No question.
Whatever they did, they definitely improved
They
the
put
short track
the
racing.
softest tire they've ever put on a NASCAR
Yeah,
on the car.
that's what we've been screaming about all season.
Yep.
Put the gumdrops on.
It worked.
Uh,
Only on
and
the
yeah.
left side, though. I think the right side were harder, or vice versa. One side was the softest tire they've ever had, but the other side was a totally different compound.
Well, it worked.
Yeah.
There's two grooves. People are moving around. There's some really good passing.
There was passing. There was strategy. There was action all the time on the track. There wasn't a lot of wrecking. It was just a lot of good, clean racing.
Hamlin drove up from the back because he wrecked his car in practice.
Yeah, he wrecked in practice.
That was an impressive drive. He got right up to the front.
Well, he had the fastest car in practice, and then he wrecked it. So you knew that he was going to have one of the faster cars on race day, even though he had wrecked the night before, because they didn't go to a backup car. They fixed that car. So it was the same.
Now you've got, Reddick's already in, so he was like a non-factor in this race. He just kind of chilled.
Yep.
And then you had Bell and William Byron, Chase Elliott, Kyle Larson, Denny Hamlin, and Ryan Blaney all trying to get into the final two spots.
You had 5 or 6 guys trying to get in that last 2 open spots for the playoff, for the final 4.
And right from the outset, Chase Elliott and William Byron were racing each other hard, which is wild because they're teammates, but sure. That's what you got to do.
It's all the marbles at that point, right? You want your teammate to be in the playoffs, but there's only one spot you fit in. You want it to be you.
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of good racing. I don't remember who won the second stage, but
it was the same person who won the first stage, wasn't it? Blaney the whole time.
Elliott won.
Elliott won 1 and 2, I think. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Larson did he had a lot of trouble. But Blaney got switched on. He was definitely pumped up after losing at Miami.
Yeah, no question.
And he was charging to the field.
Hamlin won stage 1. No, that was 2 years ago. Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. And I liked the way Blaney was driving. That was 80s, 90s aggression. That was cool.
Oh, absolutely. No, the entire race up until the last few laps was wonderful.
Yes. And that's where the controversy has started. So,
controversy.
Watching the race, right? Watching the end of it, and it gets down to the last few laps, and Bell was like 1 point below the cut line, and the 24 was just above it.
Yeah, it was like
Byron.
Christopher Bell needed to gain a spot. The 24 couldn't lose one more spot, and they'd be tied at 0. And if
Blaney was up front.
If they were tied at 0, like 0 points above me on the other one, the tie went to Christopher Bell because of his finish the week before, I think.
Yeah, I think something like that.
Yeah.
So you had Blaney out front. They were pretty confident he was going to take the first spot. So there's one playoff spot left. Elliott and Larson just fell off. Had just on the long run, their cars just weren't that good.
Regardless of everything that went down, how happy are you that Larson's not in the playoff, the Final Four?
What's wild though, somebody pointed out the guy, he had 6 race wins this season. He's not in the Final Four.
Nope. That's the way the system works.
Yeah,
like it or not.
But what's crazy? So we're watching it, and then the 1 and the 3 are at the back bumper of the 24, and they're side by side. And I was watching it. I'm like, they're both on the lead lap, I think.
Yeah, they were both in the lead lap. Either one of them passed Blaney, it would have put that points thing back to 0, and Christopher Bell would have got the pass, not Blaney.
So,
Am I saying
you're watching
Blaney?
it
Yeah, Blaney.
and you're like, why? Both those cars seem like they're faster than Byron. Like Byron's car like fell off.
Byron, not Blaney. Thank you. Yeah.
Like why aren't they passing him? It's weird.
Well,
They're
also,
rolling side by
they're
side.
2 cars side by side. 2 cars side by side are always slower than 1 car by itself.
It was weird. It
the
was real
side
weird,
draft works.
and you could tell the announcers were kind of like, that's a little strange. And then it gets like the last lap, and the 23 really slows up and lets Christopher Bell go by his teammate,
right?
And then he just like hits the wall.
They're not necessarily teammates. They're Toyota teammates. They're
the Toyota teammates.
Manufacturers, same manufacturers. And the same thing with the 1 and the 3 behind Byron. So
yeah, so you get 2 Toyotas and 2 Chevys.
2 Toyotas and 2 Chevys. 3
Chevys. So there's now been penalties brought out for race manipulation.
Yep.
And
as there should be.
None of the penalties, all of them stuck. They all filed appeals and they didn't win them.
Well, the big thing was the radio communication between the 1, the 3, saying to their crew chiefs, "Hey," the 1 saying, "Hey, does the 3 know the plan?" And then the 3 being like, and the
no, I think it was the 1. Does the 1 know the plan? Because Austin Dillon's a dirtbag, so
right.
He was just like saying it out loud.
It was all said out loud, and then the plan was obviously because they were 2 Chevys trying to put the Chevy into the Final 4. It wasn't. It didn't take a brain surgeon to figure out what they were saying. About. So obviously they deserve their penalties and they deserve to be suspended. I think the drivers should be suspended as well as the crew chief and whoever else was.
See, I have a different opinion of that. I think, I guess they should be suspended. But I'm disappointed in the drivers because in the end, you're behind the wheel there.
Yep.
And you're in control of the car, and you shouldn't have to feel like you have to do something like that. Because that's like being a boxer and being asked to throw in the fight.
But here's the deal: boxing is not a team sport. NASCAR is technically
doesn't matter
a team sport. So
there's no team orders.
There is not supposed to be team orders. But
I'm disappointed in this because of their whole Trackhouse whole vibe is like we're underdogs. We always fight. We go up against people. Last year at Phoenix, did Ross Chastain move over and let Blaney get first just because he was going to win the championship? No, he did not.
No.
So why would you at this point not pass William Byron? Because you're afraid that the Hendrick guy is going to yell at you, even though you're not on the same team.
Well, see, now this is where I
would have. You want to be anti-establishment in NASCAR. You don't. You don't give it up for the big teams.
Yeah. So now that's where I'm giving them a little bit of a break because I have I'm not happy about it, but I also wonder how much power Hendrick has over those smaller teams because they are all Chevys. They all do share engineering.
Yeah.
They all do share plans. Does Hendrick have the power to be like, you're doing this for me, or we're not sharing setups for the entire 2025 season or something along those lines?
So
there's some kind of ultimatum brought down.
So then maybe, it is good that 2311 is suing NASCAR because there's too much BS going on.
100%. It's way too much of that, to use a political term, the old boys club, right? Like it's too much of that going on. There needs to be a little bit more transparency in what's happening. And
I really hope Reddick wins the championship this weekend.
I am rooting for nobody but. For 2011 to win that during an active lawsuit.
Yeah, I don't think Byron should be in there. It should have been Bell.
Yep.
Even though that move was a little weird. I haven't been very happy with Byron's pulled some crap moves this season for wins.
For sure.
And I kind of fell out of favor for me. I don't really like him as a driver anymore.
I'm not as anti him as some other drivers. I don't want him to win. He won, he doesn't need to win. But
yeah, I don't hate him. I'm just like, he's not great either. I don't like the way he's won a couple times. I didn't like the way he won at Daytona.
Yeah, Reddick is young, but he's fun to watch, and he's got an old school mentality normally. So I think that he definitely deserves it this year, and also because he might not be able to drive next year. So really stick it to NASCAR.
Yeah,
I'm into it.
guy can wheel though. So
Yep, for sure. He's got skill, he's got luck, and all those things together have got him in the top 4. So
our pick, I guess unanimous, Reddick.
100%. Even though his livery this week is horrible. So
I'm so disappointed that it's not a jump man. That is a mistake. I hope that is not.
Yeah. I'm sure it's contractual.
Reflective of other, but man,
I'm sure it's contractual. It's not only is it a monster car, which aren't the greatest, it's the worst of the monster cars. Like it's the hard monster car. Like, ugh, gross.
I'm really quite shocked that being such a savvy marketer that, Michael Jordan wasn't like, well, my car has the chance to win the championship this weekend.
It's going
I want my logos all over it.
It's going to be a Jordan car. Yep.
Yeah. Right.
But again, I'm sure there was some contractual thing somewhere where it was like, hey, if you're in the Final 4 for the final race of the season, it needs to be this car,
probably
this much money, and it may have been such a long shot deal that they probably didn't even think about it too much, and here we are. So, but no, it should be a Jumpman car because the other 2311 car this weekend is actually kind of neat as a Star Wars livery again.
Yeah, I don't know why. It's weird.
I love it though. It's cool. It's different. Yeah. But yeah, the monster cars are ugly. Like that neon green over black is just not.
It looks like it just reminds you of a 17-year-old's pickup truck that's sprayed flat black that has a monster sticker on the back. Like it's
pretty much.
It's just like super lame.
Yeah, is what it is. I hope he wins, even if he looks.
I do too.
Even if he looks like a Kyle in doing it, it's fine.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of drives like a Kyle. It's wide open.
But he's not a jerk. So.
No. So yeah. Anything else?
I think that's enough for this week, Andrew. We got some scale project car stuff we're both working on, but we can save that for next week.
We will. All right. You can follow us on Off Topic Podcast on Instagram, on Facebook, on Threads. I'm Racing Anger on Threads, and Scale Autocast. I put some updates of stuff on there. And Brad, where can they find you?
They can find me at TSISS350 on Instagram and Threads. They can find AZ Rising Sun Rally with an E. There's some content there. It's usually shared also on my personal page. You can find it there too, but go give it a follow over there too as well. There will be some stuff that's not. So, and one more big thanks to everybody involved with that, because I am over the moon with happiness about that.
Yeah, it looked like a really good event.
It was, if I do say so myself.
I mean, it's totally more professional than the Forenoon Cup, but
well, the Forenoon Cup is all I wanted, and I will be doing something like that out here as well. It's very casual.
You certainly should.
This was a lot of work. We met every week for 8 or 9 months.
That's why it works so well.
Yeah, every week on a Wednesday, we spent a ton of money. We had a lot of planning. It was not a casual event. So
you could do 5 or 6 cars on a forenoon and be casual about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a hey, if you know, you know. Come on out. We're going to go for a drive.
Yeah. So. And that's what that should be. That's what we decided that it's going to be.
And that's why when I initially started this, I was like, this is going to be Forenoon West. And then after some planning happened, I was like, it's definitely not, because it's not the same vibe. So I shut it right down from being that. So it's fine. I mean, listen, there's room for different kinds of events, and I'm glad to have been part of this. And like I said, I'm proud to have run an event that was successful, and there was at least one person on this event who has run the $10,000 Copper State.
Woo!
And they were on my event as well, and had a great time on my $80 event. So suck it, people who spend too much money on things.
All right, now that we went off topic on the outro here, I keep cars analog and aim for the roses.